You're listening to Ag Airwaves, conversations with agricultural aviation pilots and operators, experts, and innovators who propel our industry. Ag Airwaves is brought to you by Air Tractor and hosted by Graham Lavender of Ag Air Update.
We're here today with Andrew Moore. Andrew is the CEO of the National Agricultural Aviation Association. Andrew is going to talk with us a little bit about what's going on with your association and how they're continually fighting for agricultural aviation on a national forefront. Andrew, how are you today?
I'm just living the dream, Graham. How are you?
I'm doing great. I want you to talk to the audience a little bit about all the work the association is doing and everything that's happening behind the scenes that most people are probably not aware of to ensure that agricultural aviation is at the forefront of everybody's mind on a national level.
Yeah, so as I mentioned to you earlier, this is probably one of the busiest weeks we've had this year from a legislative and regulatory standpoint. Last Friday, the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee and the Senate Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee both released their draft versions of the FAA reauthorization bill. And there's a lot of key elements in those drafts that affect low altitude aviation, such as, of course, agricultural aviation. And two of the areas that we've been really pushing for over, many years has been tower marking and logging. So the House draft bill, includes statutory language to go back to what the 2016 reauthorization bill included, and that is marking and logging of towers between 50 and 200 feet, 10 feet in diameter or less in rural areas, towers between 50 and 200 feet. So that includes logging, that includes marking, and unfortunately, in 2018, because of the Goliath communications industry, telecom industry, they removed requirements that communication towers have to do both, even though there's no difference in terms of looks and really risks of these obstacles. We worked with the NTSB to agree that all towers that fit this description of 50 to 200 feet, 10 feet in diameter in rural areas should be marked and logged, not one tower over another. They all should be logged. Anyhow, the House bill goes back to the 2016 language, which is favorable to us. So we're very pleased about that. That bill is actually being marked up as we speak at the House Transportation Infrastructure Committee. The chairman of that committee, Sam Graves from Missouri, has said that the House will probably take up the bill in July. So that's very favorable. The Senate just perpetuates the 2018 language, but both the House and Senate state to the FAA, you need to get this done. They haven't done anything towards taking that statutory language and making it an actual rule. Both say that you have to get this done within 180 days or report to us how many accidents there have been for low altitude aircraft and report on that. Sorry, my phone just went off. The other area that they addressed is drones. There's a huge title on drones in both the House and Senate bill. The House version is pretty favorable. I mean, they are trying to bring drones into the airspace, but the House version does include provisions that manned aircraft would be given right away in many circumstances. The Senate language is very onerous in that you might recall last year there was an aviation rulemaking committee on beyond visual line of sight proposed rules for drones. What that included was the definition of a shielded area, which would allow drones, certain drones, to operate in a shielded area, and that could be 100 foot vertically or 100 foot laterally from an obstacle. The obstacle could be a tree, the obstacle could be a tower, the obstacle could be a silo, and that those types of drones wouldn't have to give right of way to manned aircraft or have any type of ADSB in signal if in the event that an ag aircraft had an ADSB out signal to even know where they were. So very, very dangerous. It goes beyond and doesn't honor the FAA's safety mission. And we wrote comments to both Secretary Buttigieg and at the time the acting administrator Nolan at the FAA. Unfortunately, the Senate bill would codify, would tell the FAA to put into statute or put into regulations everything that the Beyond Visual Line of Sight Aviation Rulemaking Committee proposed last year. The House takes a different, much safer approach. And again, would state that none of this is to be interpreted as not allowing or not having drones give right away to manned aircraft. So those are, the Senate bill is going to be marked up tomorrow. Not sure when the Senate will take it up in the full committee. Remember that the House and Senate bills will be very much different. And as we all remember our civic lessons, you have to go into what's called a conference committee and reconcile the bills into one bill. So you'll have House members and Senate members on the aviation subcommittees get together to try to pound out one bill that they can both agree on and then take it back to the House and Senate for a vote. And then if that passes, to the president to sign. But that's probably not going to happen until the earliest, I would say, the fall. But
Right.
But those provisions on aircraft giving right away, drones giving right away to manned aircraft, and those tower marking provisions we've been fighting very hard for. And right now we're big fans of the the House bill, because that's where they're included.
Right. So there's quite a bit of work to be done by both parts of the government before that bill would even remotely get into something that we could comment on again. There'll be all kind of revisions. There'll be and whatnot.
Yes. You still have to have Congress agree on one bill, and right now you have two different bills in the House and Senate, so that has to be reconciled. And even after let's just say hypothetically it's passed, they do agree on one bill, then that goes to the FAA, and they'll have to do rulemaking on all those provisions. So there's still a lot of time to comment.
All right. And while we're talking about the drones, can you touch real briefly on the article that was in the NAAA e-newsletter and is actually going to be published in the July issue of Ag Air Update, encouraging operators out there to report these illegal drone applications, to have the operators of these illegal drone applications actually, have some, be responsible for not making the applications correctly or following the law?
Yes. In fact, you can go to, and I'm glad you guys are publishing that. Thank you. If you go to our homepage of agaviation.org, you can see that effort we're making. We're hearing a lot of operators out there, whether they're manned aerial application operators or unmanned, that have spent a lot of money getting licensed, being professional, having good equipment. They're doing things by the book, and all of a sudden they're seeing these operations, and they could be maybe farmers themselves that aren't getting the commercial drone application, the Part 107. They aren't registering their drones. They're not registering with the state pesticide enforcement agencies, and that's all a violation. So if that happens, we're urging, and we provide guidance on where you can access the contact information for your state pesticide enforcement agency, or your FSDO, your Flight Standard District Office near you, to report these people, because what they're doing is against the law, and it's against the professionalism that our members, your readers, stand for.
Right. All right. So to recap, Andrew says go to agaviation.org, get on their website, all the resources that you'll need to make that report, whether it be your local applicator office, the local FSDO office. If we don't report these guys, and it's just going to continue. Speaking of professionalism, and I'm glad you brought that up, hit real fast for us on the new CPAS program. How's that coming? Make some comments. What kind of participation are we seeing, and why is it important for these guys to go ahead and become a certified professional applicator?
Yeah, so CPAS, the Certified Professional Aerial Applicator Safety Steward professional designation, began this year. What it requires is state or regional Ag Aviation Association membership and NAAA membership, in addition to having participated and calibrated an Ag aircraft at a fly-in clinic, Operation Safe Fly-in Clinic, and also having participated in the past 3 years. So whether it's the 2022-2023 season or 2021-22 season, and then 2020-21 season, those 3 seasons. All of which, again, if you go to our website, agaviation.org, if you did miss any of those past programs, the past 3 years, you can take them online at our LMS, our learning management software system. So if you go to our homepage, again, agaviation.org, there's an education tab that you can click down and learn more about CPAS. I think we're at about 20 people that are certified. And, there's a lot of benefits. More and more will come, but certainly the pesticide manufacturers are aware of this, and we have seen in the past where certain labels have required participation in an Operation Safe Calibration Clinic to treat with a certain active ingredient, pesticide active ingredient, and they're looking at that now as considering perhaps CPAS for certain labels. It's something they pushed us to do years ago, and so we finally brought it to the fore. Also, insurance. Insurance companies may be looking at this very seriously, offer more competitive rates for those CPAS participants. State regulatory agencies are paying attention to it, and it's just a good way to market your business too. If you have that special designation from NAAA, NAREF, that shows that you've participated in your certified professional aerial applicator under our program, of which we will have even more rigorous requirements next year. We're going to have a lot of curriculum on aviation safety, on environmental professionalism, video modules that you will have to both watch, be educated upon, and test upon to continue to receive your CPAS designation. So
that's good. That's a great program. I know it's been in the works for many, many years, and I'm glad to see it come to fruition now. We're winding up on the 15-minute mark, Andrew. There's a big event in December out in California, and we sure want a lot of people to show up and show the support for the entire industry at the NAAA's Ag Aviation Expo. It's going to be in Palm Springs. Do you want to touch a little bit about that? What can we expect? And kind of get some people excited about coming out to California.
Yes, well, I don't know how many people have been to Palm Springs, but if there's an area that probably has perfect weather, especially in December, that could be it. You've got the Santa Rosa Mountains, you've got blue skies, you'll have dry Mediterranean-like climate in the 70s. Just a beautiful place. we do know that we're going to have at least 5 aircraft at this point. I know Air Tractor's bringing a couple aircraft, and then Thrush is bringing at least 1. I think we'll have a Cascade and a turbine conversion and a Hatfield turbine conversion, and a couple of helicopters inside as well. That's just what we know of right now. On July 13th, companies that would like to exhibit may do so. So be on the lookout for more information on that, either through our e-newsletter, on our website, agaviation.org, and on our social media sites, whether that's Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. So.
All right. Well, that sounds good. I know we'll all be out there and looking forward. And you're not going to be wearing shorts, right? You'll be.
I'll probably wear a tasseled tank top. I'm not sure. I haven't decided yet. Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Just gonna clarify that.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate your time today, Andrew, and hopefully we'll be talking again on a future podcast.
This is awesome, Graham. Thank you so much.
All right. Andrew Moore, the CEO of the National Agricultural Aviation Association. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Ag Airwaves. You can subscribe to this podcast with your favorite podcast app. Get a transcript of this episode and listen to others at airtractor.com/podcast. If you'd like to be a guest on Ag Airwaves, contact Graham Lavender at agairupdate.com. We'll be back soon with another episode.